Hola, SAP developers. Welcome to this session, part of the TOEFL 2025 integration track. If you joined our previous session, you will know two of our speakers today already. So that will be Jakob and Carsten. And we're being joined now by Martin. So Jakob and Martin, who are part of Asapio, which is the technology that powers the event add-on for ERP. And Carsten, who is the lead of everything basically regarding event-driven integrations at SAP. So this is an important session for all of those of you who are interested in seeing the event add-on for ERP in action and basically how you can develop your events in your ERP, right? So without any further delay, hola, Jakob, Martin, and Carsten, over to you guys.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for the introduction, Antonio. Yeah, I think maybe a number of you had already watched the session before, so you know me. I can still quickly start with the introduction. My name is Carsten Strothmann, Lead Product Manager for Event-Driven Integration at SAP. Have been working on the topics for years and years and years. It has really been a long time, and I still enjoy it. And in the early days, the biggest challenge was always, where do I get events from? There were just a two-digit number of standard events when I started, and it was always a challenge because you couldn't build custom events. You had to take the standard events that are there, and now that were there, because now it's a lot more. And yeah, today what you will see is how easy it is to create custom events because we've made major progress here. With me is Jakob. I think, Jakob, you can probably introduce yourself next.
Yeah, hola developers, mucho gusto. Very nice to see you all today here, and thanks for joining the session. My name is Jakob Vogelsang. I'm responsible in Asapio for the business area that deals with the event add-on for ERP. So we are basically providing the technology, as Antonio and Carsten said, to power the tight integration between your SAP backend systems and the SAP Advanced Event Mesh, and very proud of that partnership, of course, that we have with SAP. And yeah, looking forward to the session and all of your questions. And I'm accompanied by my colleague Martin today. And Martin, over to you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, my name is Martin Schöffler. I'm product manager for our integration add-on, which is the basis for the event add-on for ERP. And we'll show you in this session more details, more hands-on, how to create an event, how to create the payload, how to define everything, just as an hands-on inside the SAP system. Yeah, going back to Carsten for the first.
Perfect. Then, Martin, you can do me a favor, go to the agenda slide quickly, because Martin is the guy in control, so he controls the slides, and he will take the major part of this session as well, because the goal is really to show the event add-on to you. So you will really see what it is about. Before that, Jakob and I will still give a very, very quick overview. So we will, for the ones that had not been part of the session before, summarize things very quickly, and then we'll hand over to Martin, and he'll walk you through a demo, and he'll show you some advanced features. With that, let's go to the first overview slide, and that's SAP's event technical ecosystem. Favorite slide because it explains exactly how the components fit together. By the way, you might have seen this several times. There's a strategy document that this is taken out of, and the strategy document explains in detail how the components fit together, and you can find it on sap.com from what I know. And look at it and read it in quiet and really understand how things work. So what do I want to tell you with this diagram, with this architecture? Well, you see Advanced Event Mesh at the center of it. So it's the event broker, the event mesh, so a network of event brokers that powers event-driven architecture. And it is SAP's flagship event broker. Our expectation is that a lot of our customers, most of our customers will over time really enjoy, will really benefit from event-driven architecture, and they will migrate to this extremely powerful, market-leading event mesh. Together with Advanced Event Mesh, SAP Integration Suite forms a power couple. So the Integration Suite easily connects to Advanced Event Mesh for mediation and orchestration. What does that mean? You can adjust the events that are in Advanced Event Mesh. So you can adjust the topic structure, you can adjust the payload, you can massage the payload by adding additional fields and. On top of that, there's orchestration, meaning an event gets consumed on the Integration Suite from Advanced Event Mesh. You can trigger additional actions and processes from the Integration Suite. So it's a wonderful couple there that allows you to fully benefit from event-driven architecture, and very directly iPaaS and DDA infrastructure that's quite unique in the market. So it's a huge benefit that you get there with AM and Integration Suite. There's one more thing in Integration Suite. It's a starter broker offering event mesh in SAP Integration Suite. It works for smaller to medium scenarios, and we're allowing you, if you would like to start out smaller, to later on easily migrate to AM and to bridge EMS to Advanced Event Mesh. Here, recommendation from my side, there is such a feature difference, a feature advantage on Advanced Event Mesh, that I would personally look at Advanced Event Mesh first and would go with that immediately. Then, if we look a little bit higher on this diagram, you see on the left-hand side the third-party cloud applications. So we can easily connect to all kinds of third-party applications there via connectors, via the standard protocols, AMQP, MQTT, REST. So AM is very open there. Then in the center here, you see the SAP cloud applications, S/4HANA Public Cloud, BTP, SuccessFactors. Those you can easily connect to Advanced Event Mesh, and events are then fed into AM in a very straightforward and easy way. And this is done via the Cloud Application Event Hub, which in the end is a gateway for events from SAP Cloud Applications. The beauty is you set this up once, and then events get exposed easily, and you don't have to worry about it. Doesn't matter whether the events come from BTP or SuccessFactors, they are injected into Advanced Event Mesh. And then we're switching to the part that we will focus on primarily today, on-premise and private cloud landscapes. On the right-hand side, you see S4, you see ECC, you see as well third-party applications. Again, third-party applications you can connect with Event Mesh connectors from Advanced Event Mesh. And then there are the big SAP backends there, S4 and ECC. S/4HANA comes with a number of standard events, roughly 600, easily to consume. Thing is, there might be events missing every now and then, or you want to adjust these events, want to build custom events that perfectly fit your use case. And this is where the event add-on for ERP comes into play, which is an offering we had introduced earlier this year. And it allows, and Jakob will elaborate on that in just a minute, it allows you to, in a low-code, no-code way, very efficiently with an extremely good time to event, to create your own custom events and expose them both from S4 and from ECC. And the important point here is, for S4, you can in the end mix the standard events and the event add-on for ERP creation layer. There's a third approach here, application interface framework, for those customers that already are strong on the AIF side, that might be a third option. Nevertheless, the premium offering is Event Add-on for ERP. And with that, I would like to hand over to Jakob.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carsten. And yeah, as a small overview, I mean, of course, we recommend if you haven't seen the first session today, maybe pause this video for a second later if you see the recording and head over to the other session to really get the more elaborate and yeah, more complete overview. But just to quickly summarize again what the event add-on for ERP is all about. So basically, it's a way to build the bridge between the SAP backend system, so the ECC, the S/4HANA, and your advanced event mesh broker more easily and much faster, especially when you want to build custom events, data events with larger payloads. And so if you wouldn't use the add-on, it would result in a lot of custom coding, a lot of custom development that would introduce a lot of technical debt in the long run. And so that's why this offering exists, to make the event enablement of your SAP backend system as convenient as possible. So the way how this works is basically that the add-on, as you can guess from the picture on the left-hand side here, the add-on is installed on your S4 system or on your ECC system, or basically on any NetWeaver ABAP will basically do. And it will then build a bidirectional connection to your broker. So it will be able to send events, so what we refer to as an outbound event. And it will also be able to receive events that are coming from the broker, that are maybe coming from other applications, from other SAP systems, from non-SAP systems, and it will ingest them, and you can then react on these events in your SAP system. And so there are thousands of built-in triggers in both SAP S/4HANA and SAP ECC that you can reuse, but you can, of course, also come up with your own custom triggers and event definitions. And basically what we will see in a minute is how you can then model your events in a codeless fashion, so you don't need any custom development, but it's all by configuration only. And of course, this speeds up your event creation much more. And something that is maybe also very convenient, you could also, maybe if you're on the move from ECC to S/4HANA, you could also already start on ECC, model your events, and then transport them over, move them over to S/4HANA and use them there. Yeah, so we have features that help you also on that transition to then move it in a clean core compliant fashion, and to make sure that you can get started in the EDA world as soon as possible, even if you're still on ECC. And so this event enablement allows you basically, as I said, bidirectional event sending and receiving, and you can transmit the events either in real time or in a batch load. You can do first in a large scale initial load and then go real time. So there are various transmission modes and playing modes how you can do that. But basically what the event add-on will do, it will make sure that your events are sent or received in a reliable fashion, in a high performance way. It will, what we will also demonstrate, it has monitoring to make sure that you're not losing events, even if you're transmitting millions of them, that you can always be sure that all your events reach the broker and are processed successfully. And then we, of course, want to make it as easy and convenient as possible to define the events, so meaning the event structure, what we call payloads. There are standard or there are predefined payloads that we are going to ship soon as well. There's a large collection of such predefined or templates of events that you can reuse. You can use them directly. You can use them as a template for your own customization. Or, of course, you could go ahead and start defining your event structure completely from scratch. If it's a custom event, an event that's so differentiating that it doesn't exist anywhere as part of a standard, you could also model it with our tooling, and then thereby event enable your SAP system. And so that's the overview. And so I would say let's jump into it and show you how it looks like, how it behaves in reality.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much, Carsten and Jakob. So now in this session, we're going to be really looking into the system. I just want to highlight what are we going to do. So we're going to see where would it be activated on the broker. I think we saw that on the overview session as well. Then we actually do configure the event. So our plan is to do a sales order event because that comes up quite frequently. Basically, in almost every project we do, this is part of the process that is event enabled. So we want to showcase that using some of our templates, extending it a little bit, and then defining where does it go to on the broker, what will be the topic, also showcasing the dynamic topic feature for the advanced event mesh, and then also sending it actually to the event mesh, and then seeing, okay, what does monitoring look like? What do we do for in case of failures? What is a reprocessing strategy, and so on. So with that said, I want to switch to my AEM broker. Hopefully he's still being logged in. No, of course not. So I will have to relog in real quick, but just give me a second to do that. I have to exit that. Slides. Because I'm using an advanced event mesh broker inside the SAP network. So you basically in your advanced event mesh, you go into the cluster manager, you choose your broker, and then on the manage tab, you will have under system configuration, you will have a tile to enable the event add-on for ERP. And here it is already enabled. So I only can disable it. If you do it for the first time, it will basically be disabled at the beginning and you will have to enable it. And in order to be able to do, I want to show one slide again, because that is basically, depending. So you need some BTP services to be there. And it's easier to see in screenshots than if I go scrolling through a list of entitlements. So you have to go into your entitlements and assign these services to your sub account. So there is the Service Integration Suite Advanced Event Mesh that you might already have because you already have a broker, but now you have new services in here, and one is the ERP event add-on, and yes, of course, you need that. And the other one is the validation service. So this is just for the metering, it just checks, is a broker enabled for use with the ERP event add-on. And for the validation service, you also have to create an instance here, which will give you a service key, basically credentials, how to do that validation. So with that said, we do jump into the configure the event part. So we will touch here and there how the connectivity works. But this is all also documented, of course, on the sub-help. But we will do a sales order change event, as I said. We will define the payload first and then configure, the interface, basically, where does it go to, what is the topic, and on which ABAP event it does react to. And then we see how that all looks. So I'm here in one of our S4 systems. And the first thing, as I said, I want to design my own payload. So I do open the payload designer, and there is pre-existing payloads here in my system. So we are working on getting those into the Business Accelerator Hub. It's not there yet, but we are working on it. So there is a list of predefined payloads that will be available, and I just choose a sales order one and just make a copy of that so that I can tweak it to my liking. And I just use the name you saw before, so it we will use that one. And so this is now a copy, and a payload always has a version, and the version is the actual schema of the event message and how it will look like. So here we have basically two CDS views are part of that payload design at the moment. It's the sales document header. CDS view and one for the partner functions. And for the event use case I also want to have the item data. So what I do next is that I go into that join builder, and the join builder will give me the opportunity to add a new table or CDS view. So I just add the CDS view for the sales document items. It tries to determine how can it join it together. So yeah, there are multiple tables that have the sales document, and the joining, of course, in the end, the data extraction will do the same thing, but the joining is also used in our formatting functionality. So how do we come from the extracted data to the JSON payload? So we want to better join it to the header table, because yeah, this is where we want these items to be located in the JSON. So these joins also define some of the hierarchy inside our JSON. So that might be an important step to do if you envision your payload. So it needs to go with the right joins here. So now you see I have 3 tables. You can name them how they should be called inside the payload. So I could name it sales items, for example, here. And you also see the level. So of course the header is level 1, and then both the partner function and the items are on level 2. So they will be side by side in the payload. And yeah, of course, when we add the table, it does first add also key fields. And yeah, sometimes, like this time, it also messed up a little bit, the sequence. So the item should definitely not be the first key. So why is that important with the key sequence here is that we will do data extraction based on our event. And we already know, so the sales order event, that will have basically client and the sales document number. So these 2 fields should be the first key fields here, because that allows for better data extraction and stuff. So I just reordered it. And based on the existing payload, there are quite a few fields already added, but with adding a new table, only the key fields are added. So only the sales document item was added. And I do want to add a few more fields, of course, because yeah, why would I add the table if it's just the key? So I would like to get the product number out there, perhaps also the product group, and then have the order quantity and unit, because that is important for my use case, and also the net value. Now it comes down here somewhere. And so we just add these fields to our payload. So as we have a longer list, it's like it will always be added to the end. Let me scroll down here. So it's quite a big payload with a lot of fields from the header. And we now have added all these fields, and we want to probably rename them how they are appearing in our payload design. So how they will actually appear in the event message. So we want the quantity, we want that perhaps sales unit, and the net amount, we always see the more common word net value, and might also just change that to proper casing on that. And the product group. Good. So now we have renamed them how we like them. So there are other options here. So you can, besides renaming, there's also the option to add a conversion here. So there is an interface that you can implement if you need some data conversion. So with the same framework, for example, we also built the field class integration. There we oftentimes need concatenation of fields, for example, or just a simple transformation like date and time into a timestamp field. Something like that can be done with these conversions. But right now, we don't have any conversions here for the simple use case. Also, one other option that is always there is you can add where clauses to these joins so that you basically filter out certain entries. This can come in handy, like if you have addresses that you only take the default address, for example, things like that. But now, so we now added our fields, and we did save our payload, so we remember the name, October sales order, and now we want to use that event message schema in our event. So now we have to define when that event will be sent and where should it be sent to. So I will go into our configuration screens. So Jakob mentioned it in the overview session already. There is a Fiori app in the making to make that more user-friendly, but right now, as you can download it right now, you still have to use this one. So on the first level, we always have connections to the brokers. So here in our test system, there's all kind of brokers connected, but we're focusing on the advanced event mesh broker. So you do have to set up an RFC destination, how to connect there, what is the host name, what is the authentication, so is it username and password, is it with certificates? You can configure that in the RFC destinations. And then you say, okay, I want to have interfaces on that. And here in my broker, there's already one interface for a business partner change. We will ignore that for now because we want to create a new one for the sales order. So we just go into change mode, say we want to add a new entry. We want a sales order for Oktoberfest. And then we have to set here a few things. So in the Fiori app, that will be set automatically to the defaults. But for you, it's more free form. So you have to have a data extraction function module. And there is a variety of them coming. So depending on what is your source. So we just made a payload design. So this is the extractor using these payload design information. There's also one using just database views or just a standard CDS view. But in our case, we use the one for the payload designs. And then we do need to tie that together with the actual ABAP event that's happening. We need to have an ABAP message type. So, and I created that beforehand. It's just one step to define a name that can be then used to link the business object event to our interface here. And we say this is an incremental interface. So there is also the possibility to have initial loads, which are more batch oriented. So to send, like to prime the broker with all the data in your SAP system without events happening, then you can do an initial load. But for this example, we do an incremental load. We might want to activate tracing just to see in the demo what the payloads look like. Typically in a production environment, that would be off. You would give a response handler that deals with the responses and if in case of errors, what should be done then so that we can reprocess. And there's also the formatting. So, and we deliver one that will take the payload design and make a structured JSON out of it. There's also delivered ones that will make a flat CSV out of it. There's also one for a flat JSON. And it's deliberately built as a framework. So this is also a place where you could have custom code if you're not, if that doesn't work for you. But yeah, as you will see, the standard has a pretty good way to do it together with the payload design. And then, of course, we have to select the payload design that we just created. So how does our event message look like? So we just choose our new Devtober sales order, and we have also to give the version of the payload. So with that said, we just save it for now, and then we have to give a few informations to the broker, or that are important for the send process to the broker. So we can quickly go through. So there's one, the call method we have to give. This will be post call. There is also the content type you have to give. In our case, would most likely be application JSON. but you could also have more specific ones based on whatever you're doing. The delivery mode needs to be set, so there are various, but you would typically, for a business case, use the persistent one. So that should be the default one. And then you can also configure a fixed topic, and we do that as a first step before we go to the dynamic topic. So this is one option, and this is an option you would see in typical other brokers as well. Just as it's easier, we do it first, and then we later check the case of the dynamic topics. And now we said, okay, this is going to that fixed topic, and now we have to define when should that interface actually trigger. And in case of the sales order, there's a lot of events available out of the box as business objects. And the business object for sales order, so the business object type is plus 2032. Yeah, your functional people might know. And what's that? There should be a changed event for
that. The object type, you remove the number 2 at the end.
Yeah, but it should be, yeah. Oh, it should be 32, sorry about that. It's not the number I removed, that was too much, but it's 2032 and not 23. So, oh God, now I forgot to fill the event. And we want to react on a change, and we will delete these other two in a second. But that just shows that it's live, so all good here. So we say we want to react on a changed event on the business object. And the way we react, there is a trigger function module that will trigger the framework. So we enter that here, and we have to activate it. And so now we can save it, and as we have to probably remove those before we can save, because there's an error otherwise. So now we save that, and now it's also asking us for transport now. So now we have linked that to whenever a sales order fires a changed event, our interface will basically fire. And this is what we want to now try. So now we set everything up. It goes to a fixed topic for now, but we just try it out. And for that, to try it out, we have to change the sales order. So I prepared a sales order that I created earlier. And we just change like how many bikes we are ordering by that company. So it's like or how many we are selling there. So we just change that like from 8 to 20, for example. And we have to confirm that. And once we save, the event will be fired. So this is basically an immediate action in the background. And this is typically used in an ABAP system to notify other pieces inside the ABAP stack. So be it some other SAP standard processes, but also to react to with your custom processes. And that's where the add-on also reacts on. And so to now see, did we send out that event? How does it look like? We go into our monitoring transaction. So you can, of course, also see it on the broker, but it's a little bit more involved to see it directly on the broker. And but from the SAP side, you can also see it. And there's a monitoring, and I just filtered to the AEM broker because in my system there will be multiple interfaces reacting to that event. But for now, we only want to see the advanced event mesh broker. So this is what happened just now, 11:33. And we did get a response 200 OK from the broker, so it did reach the broker fine. And then here in the monitoring, so you can see the overall status, but you can also see more details here. So if the tracing is on, you can see what was actually sent, and we turned it on when we created the interface. So to see here that we have our sales order and all the fields, and we have the partner functions here, and we have the sales items, item 10, where we changed the quantity to 20, and the item 20 is also part of it, where the unchanged quantity of 15 is just sent out. So, and now also what can be also seen here is what is a topic where it is sent to. So this now is just sent to the fixed topic. And this, yeah, it works for a lot of brokers, but a beauty in the advanced event mesh is that you can define a topic hierarchy. So like a path in a URL, you can say, okay, where do I want to subscribe? So you could do something like a fixed value of the system, a fixed value of the object, for example, and then a dynamic value like the sales organization of the payload that I'm sending. So you can then subscribe just to events from a certain sales organization. If you have a process that's only live for a certain sales organization, you could do something like that. Or like a region-based topic level where you can then differentiate between orders that are in the US and orders that are perhaps in Europe. So, and we want to now configure this part. How do we make a dynamic topic into our interface? So we did create the fixed topic here as a header attribute, just as a configuration of the outbound object. And the dynamic topic is a little bit more involved, and that is happening in what is called here field mapping. So we have to add this as a structured thing. So the dynamic topics, they are considered to be made up of levels. So you have a hierarchy of topics. So basically one from more general, like the system, like the object type, to the more specific, even specific to the event type. So, and we will do that here. And so our first level might be the system. And we might want to have a fixed value here. So like we say, so our system is called DS4. So we might want to add DS4 here. And then we have a second level where we probably just want to give type of the object that these events will be about. So we could say it's about sales orders. And then to cut short, we could also have a more dynamic one, like I said, the sales organization. And for the sales organization, we now don't give a fixed value because we don't know. Yeah, the event we configured, it reacts on all sales order changes. So we might output to sales orders for different sales organizations. So we now take a field from the table. So in this case, from the header table, and we just say take the field sales organization out of that table that I'm using for my payload as well, and populate that level in the topic with that information. And we could do the similar thing with like a document ID or document number. So we also do sales doc, and then we say the sales document field. And so now we have a 4-level dynamic topic, and we saved it. And now if we send another event out, so we would do basically again a change to our sales order. We could check, okay, now it comes with a different topic, and now we have more power in subscribing our consumers. So could now change that to, I don't know, perhaps order 50 here and change that to 30. Have to confirm those. And then once we save, we fire the event, it runs into the configuration that we did. The configuration will now see, okay, there is a dynamic topic configuration, and it will always prioritize the dynamic topic configuration above the fixed topic. So I did not remove the fixed topic for now, but you will see it will prioritize the dynamic one. And so we have another event, 1139. It also contains the payload that we defined, and we can check that in a second. But first, I want you to focus here on the topic string. So it is now DS4 sales order, and then it has 1710, which is our sales organization. So we can see here down here in the payload. So this is directly coming from the payload, and then also the document number. And this is the converted version, like it's on the database actually, so with the leading zeros. So it's 5794. It's our sales order here. And yeah, with these dynamic topics, you have this power now to, okay, subscribe to specific events that you're interested in and have a more say about. So you don't need to filter events that you receive because you filter already by subscribing. If you're only interested in a certain sales org, for example. Yeah, just to double check, yes, this is the one where we changed quantity to 50 and 30. So that was the event that we were firing here. Good. And of course, here in the monitoring, there's all kind of other stuff you might have noticed. There is, we also write to the application log. So your basis team can also monitor the application log. So in case of errors, it will show an error here. Also coming back to the errors. So what happens if there is an error? So there is a feature of an immediate retry, because in our experience, most errors that occur with these calls are more temporary in nature. So little network glitches that make one HTTP call fail, but if we just repeat it, it will work. So stuff like that happens throughout the day. So at big high volume customers, we typically had the situation, yeah, they have hundreds of thousands of events a day, and there are 1 or 2, perhaps 5 that fail for whatever reason. And once we introduced those immediate retries, those mostly did go away. So there's no errors anymore. But of course, what happens if there's a bigger outage? So if there's a real error, like broker is down, the route to the broker is not available, if there's a network error, then the framework, it always writes change pointers to keep track of that. And you can see here the change pointers as well. So for this entry, there was one change pointer, and there is a processing indicator. Was it processed successfully? Then it has an X. If it was not processed successfully, it will be with an empty status. And then there's a reprocessing job you can schedule that will then reprocess automatically in the background on your schedule. So it could be every minute, could be every 5 minutes, whatever your latency requirements are. And of course, if you don't do that, then you would need to schedule it or run that manually, but we definitely recommend to have a job scheduled to check that. Of course, for troubleshooting, there's also the option to manually reprocess here. So even ones that were sent successfully, you can still manually reprocess them here from the monitoring. But yeah, this is just for debugging or troubleshooting purposes. So good. Now we showed the monitoring. We did see the dynamic topics, and one thing that we also talked about here and there is that we want to bring these template payload designs and so on. We want to bring that to the Business Accelerator Hub, and this ties into the need of our customers to somehow surface what events a system publishes. So, and for API-based things, there is Open API, and for event architectures, there's a similar thing called Async API, and this is a standard how to describe an event interface. So, describe where will an event be published to, and how it can be consumed. Basically, is then defined in that Async API. And there is also the option inside the framework. There's a report that lets you expose your interfaces as an Async API specification. So currently, that is a manual step to basically produce that specification, and then you receive it basically as a file, and then import it into, for example, the Advanced Event Mesh event portal, or other API management solutions that support Async API. So we just select here our one interface. We have to give it a title because that's part of the Async API spec, and we don't have a title anywhere else. You describe version, and you can give a description what it is about. And I will just save it as a local file. And I I did that earlier. So we just choose that file again and say, yes, replace that. And now when I execute, it looks at my configuration, it looks at the payload design that I created, and it will create that async API specification. And the specification, we export it as a JSON. It could also be a YAML file. But of course, that's somewhat readable to people that know about how to read it. But as you probably saw it in the Business Accelerator Hub, so sorry, I opened on the wrong monitor. So it is a big JSON, and we just copy that because we don't want to look at it as a JSON, but we want to have some visualization. And if you have been to the Business Accelerator Hub, you have seen examples of that visualization. What I typically like to do is to go to the Async API website, and they have a subsite called Studio Async API where there is an example there. So we don't use the example, but we use our own coding. So it detects we are not on the latest version that this Studio supports, but we don't want to convert it. So, and now you see on the left-hand side, you see all the JSON we did generate. So this is what I just copied in. It's for our Devtoberfest events. On the right-hand side, you see a visualization, and it's pretty similar to how it is visualized in the Business Accelerator Hub. So if you click there on events, you will also see a visualization. These are the events. These are the topics that you post to. And so with our dynamic topics, for example, so you see this is our title, this is our description, the version, and you see our topic. And you might notice, okay, there are some curly braces. What are they? And these are our dynamic parts. So it knows these are fixed. So this will always be DS4 sales order. And he also recognizes these are basically parameters for the subscription. And it also knows about, okay, the sales org is a four character long thing inside SAP, and the document number is a 10 character long thing. So it does show you already what will be there. And it also shows you how would the payload look like that we sent there. So that basically is our payload design, and it will show you, okay, there was an object called sales document, has a lot of fields that we DC in our payload design. And in the end, it has also sub-objects like the partner function or the sales items we just added. And it will basically tell every consumer out there that looks at that, either in an API management tool or the on-premise version of the Business Accelerator Hub, where you could publish it, or in the event portal, you could visualize it and use it from there. It will show, okay, this is how these events will look like. And then basically from the event portal, there are other tools that let you then generate consumers for these events. Stuff like that is possible through that async API export. And so this is a step forward to enable you as a customer to basically have a say in how is that exposed, how do other organizations within my company find out which events we expose. Things like you would do in an API management, where they find out which APIs exist. You can do the same thing with these events that you configure. And even though they are custom and it's like what you designed, you can still get the schema definitions and stuff out of it using that async API export. Yep. So, and with that said and done, basically through with the things I wanted to show you. So we did see how we did configure the event. We did see these advanced features with the monitoring, the reprocessing, dynamic topic, and the async API. So with that said, I think we can go to the Q&A section of that session.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Martin, for showing us basically how to do an event from scratch, right? And all the monitoring and everything. Very cool and simple how you can end up enabling those dynamic topics, right? We have two questions. So one is, Are there Fiori, and you sort of mentioned it, but maybe the person who's asking joined late. So are there any Fiori apps used for the same configurations and monitoring?
So there is a Fiori app in the works, and in the overview session, I think Jakob gave a glimpse of it. I could also show, but it's not part of the download currently available through SAP because we have to go through some steps to make that available, because it's like, unlike the add-on itself, the Fiori apps, they use stuff in the background that is S4 specific. So it is like it needs a different way to bundle it into the download. But yeah, we are working on that, and I can quickly give you an overview how it would look like. So it is a little bit more streamlined. It will be called Event Studio, but it is like in the works and is a roadmap item for early next year, most likely, to come, where we surface basically these payload designs that you have, or also CDS views or entities that you have, and where there are events defined. So like maybe there's a delivery document, and then you see there are events that you can link it to, and you can then deploy these interfaces. And a lot of the steps I did when I did create the interface, that are done more or less automatically for you then. So if you like deploy a delivery change, it will suggest you an interface name. You have to say, okay, it goes to the AEM broker, and then it will suggest, okay, these are the fields that you need. So these are the configurations you need to do. So these are the ones I did like show manually, but it will now guide you a little bit more through these steps, and that's how it will be in the future.
Very nice, very nice. I like that sneak preview that you just gave us there. Thank you, Martin. There's another question, which is actually not on the YouTube, but it's on the SAP community website. So we also have people who actually watch the video or join the event from the SAP community website. And the question is, you showed us, for example, in the event add-on for ERP, that there are a number of connections that are possible, right? So at the moment, we're using the one for advanced event mesh, for example. But then in those connectors that are shown there, like what the question is, how do Asapio's connectors compare to SAP BTP's Integration Suite connectors, or imagine, in terms of flexibility and scalability?
So now there are some assumptions there that I have to take to answer that. So there are, of course, these standard events that you can expose to the advanced event mesh. I'm not quite sure if you're talking about other connectors to the integration suite somehow, but it's like you can expose the standard events, and they also can publish to the advanced event mesh, and from there can be consumed in the integration suite. From a performance point of view, currently we support HTTP, and that has some overhead compared to the AMQP that is used in the standard events. Together with these Fiori UIs, there will also be AMQP connectivity, but it's very similar to the reason why the UI is not there yet in the release, is because it is S4 only available. So AMQP is only possible with these daemon processes that are only in an S4 system available. So this is also coming together with that Event Studio early next year, most likely. So that overhead will go away. So currently there is a slight overhead with the HTTP, but for the real world use cases, you typically have, if you do something inside the integration suite with the notification style events that the standard events are, you most likely have an OData call, which is then again an HTTP call going back to the system. So the advantage that the events like I showed you, where data is coming with the events, have, is they are really forcing the decoupling of the system. So the The consumer doesn't need to know about the SAP system at all and doesn't need to know how to connect to it. So from a performance perspective, overall end-to-end, it is very, very comparable to what if your consumers need to read the data again.
Cool.
Let me continue quickly. I think the Martin gave some background. There's a different perspective as well on top, and I would assume that the question potentially went into that direction as well. So the integration suite, connectors, and advanced event mesh. Typically, our statement is always quite clear: power couple. So integration suite and advanced event mesh, the approaches complement each other. One is an iPaaS, and advanced event mesh is obviously an event broker, so it implements an event-driven architecture. There are some areas where the event-driven architecture adds a lot of benefit. So specifically, if we're talking about real time, something's changing, you want to get informed about that immediately to act on that significant change. Event-driven architecture is not about moving huge data loads or anything like that. That's not the main focus. The main focus is really change happening, some important change in a business process. You react to that immediately. The integration suite connectors are built more iPaaS style, obviously, because this is what integration suite is. So it is about moving huge amount of data. So in the end, they complement each other. Martin was clearly going into the right direction there. From a performance point of view, AEM scales the huge numbers of events. The add-on is able to support huge numbers of events getting fired, getting exposed from the backend system. In the end, you have to look at the specific use case and see whether it's an EDA use case or whether it's more an iPaaS use case, and then pick. And as that, the clear statement, and I've heard that several times, is event-driven architecture going to replace the iPaaS approach? No, it's going to complement iPaaS. It's something on top that helps you to make your business more reactive, to get ahead of things, to in future power AI approaches with retrieval augmented generation, adding real-time data in. And the event add-on is a tool to allow that by allowing you to build custom events that completely fit your use case. And I hope both Martin's and my answer combined we're answering your question there, or has been answering the questions there.
Yeah, I think you both complement each other, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, we're like AM and IS, Martin and myself.
Yeah, cool. We still have a couple of minutes. We don't have more questions, but from the audience, but I do have a couple of things that I noted down here, and I would like to see if you guys can help me solve some of my doubts. When you were configuring the event, Martin, you mentioned something about the key, right, and the sequence that's required, and how, for example, that is important in order to extract data efficiently. So, as a developer, for example, when you are creating these events, how important it is for you to know the underlying data structure of that particular object, would you say?
Yeah. So what is important if you decide which event to go with and what data to extract is that you know what key does the event expose to you. So in an ABAP event, there is always kind of a key. So it can be a business object key, like in my example. You can also trigger based on a change document, for example. Then it will be the key that is used in the change document. So typically also reflects your business object, but might be slightly different. And for the data extraction, it should start with the same key. So you can, of course, extract more detailed data or from some subtables. So ideally, you do know at least a little bit about that data structures. And once you design your payload in the payload designer, you should be aware what are the views I use, what are the CDS views I use, or what are the tables I use if you're still on ECC, for example. So you should know the data model well to really design where do I want to get data from.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for clarifying that. Also, notice that, for example, the payload, it's a pure JSON, right? What you showing us then. Now, other SAP systems, obviously, that are involved in the event-driven world, do expose all their events following the cloud events specification. So, and something cool about the event add-on for ERP is that you mentioned that you can build these templates that can be reused in events, right? So how difficult will it be, for example, to have a cloud events template that you can use so that you can wrap, for example, this data structure that you show us regarding the sales order, but within the sort of cloud events specification, so
Yeah,
that you can,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I get the question. So that is actually already available. I just choose not to use the right formatter for that. So there is a combination of formatters that you can use that will give you that. So there's like you might have noticed here the formatter sequence, and there is actually a second formatter that you could use that wraps the existing formatter with a cloud events header. And there is then additional configuration for the cloud event stuff to what will be added as the values there. So you can tell there are quite a few other dev things here, but there is, so these are sometimes also other function modules here, but there is the cloud events additional format, and you can basically combine those. And so the one that I use here and then add as a sequence after the initial formatting has happened, add that cloud events wrapper. And that's how you would do it. And then you can, basically you will get the cloud events wrapper, and you will need a few additional configuration steps. So because cloud events, it has some things that go into it, and you might want to, additionally configure what goes there.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for sharing that. I only asked that because there are some applications. So, for example, SAP Build Process Automation, like in order for it to process any events, it needs to be in that cloud events format. So if you send the raw payload that you're showing us, it will not accept it. It expects something wrapped within cloud events. So yeah, this is something that will potentially be useful for those that want to trigger a custom business process. And then in case they don't see the event triggering the process, then that's the reason why, because it needs to be a cloud event.
Yeah.
It needs to follow the event needs to follow that specification. Cool. We don't have any additional questions. So yeah, thank you very much to all three of you for delivering this session. I sure learned a lot as well as in the previous session, and I want to also thank the viewer for joining us today. And yeah, do know that there are many more sessions part of the Torfest. Not just focusing on event-driven architectures, but whatever topic you're interested in, the sort of SAP technology, developer technologies world, so gap, wrap, AI, machine learning, data science, whatever it is, Fiori, front end, whatever you want. There is something for you available for sure. So yeah, stay tuned, and we have a couple more sessions as part of the integration track today. And yeah, I'll catch up with you guys later. Thank you very much for joining.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Ciao.